Hello, this is Gray Hughes of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel a lot. Today's video is a recap of last night's show in a shorter format, easily digestible by other people, and hoping to add awareness to the Caleb Harris case. Also, we have an update in the Riley Strain case. So we'll start off with Caleb Harris here. Caleb Harris, who is right here. This is Caleb Harris. He, I believe, is 21 years old. Lived in the cottages in Corpus Christi, where he goes to college. Now, Caleb Harris, according to his father, was a junior. He's in environmental sciences, loves fishing and hunting, loves all the clothes, wants to be sponsored. He wants to be a kayak guide to teach people how to set up their kayaks. He is supposed to work in Colorado this coming summer. He likes to fish. He plans and plots how to catch each type of species that he goes after. He doesn't just throw on a particular bait, cast it out, and hope for something. He looks to try to catch specific species, so he's very methodical. And he was ready to go fishing that day. So on March 4th, he goes missing. March 3rd, he talked to his dad, and his dad knew that he was going to go fishing the next day. On March 4th, he goes missing early in the morning. Now, just as part of the timeline, at 11:53 on the 3rd p.m., he sent a dog picture. There's a little dog that they have at their apartment. He sent that to his mom and his uncle. Then at 1 a.m., Harris is seen on Ring doorbell camera. And this is him right here. Let's play a little bit of this. This is on 3 News. This is March 4th, and you can see him walking there around 1 a.m., and there's a little dog. They pick it up, and they go back in. Now, Caleb seemed like he was in a pretty good mood. You know, he's smiling right there. There's likely somebody standing underneath the surveillance camera. I was wondering why he was looking at the surveillance camera, and somebody astutely pointed out that he's probably looking at somebody over there that's also saying, hey, cute dog, or something. They just happen to be underneath where the camera is. And the other roommate looks over there as well. But anyways, this is him right here. Notice how he has the light green pants, the light shirt, and the light hat. Looks like yellow, white, maybe some sort of a light teal color. All right, so then that was at 1 o'clock in the morning. Then at 2 a.m., Caleb is in his apartment, and he's getting ready to go fishing the next day. And his roommate ends up falling asleep right around that time at 2 a.m. on the couch. And Caleb's getting ready to go fishing. Then at 2:44 a.m., Caleb takes that same dog for a walk in the complex and takes a Snapchat to his sister. Now, does Caleb's face show up in the Snapchat that he sends to his sister? Or is it just the dog on the ground, something like that? That might be important later if you consider that it might be a ruse, all the different Snapchats that he's sending, if he doesn't show up on the camera himself. Then at 2:45 a.m., Caleb orders Uber Eats, and he gets 2 Lunchables, a Red Bull, and apple pie, and his father said that that's absolutely typical of what he would get. So that does indicate that it's more likely that he ordered it. But if you believe like the roommates are involved or something like that, they would be aware of what he liked to eat as well. But law enforcement doesn't believe, it sounds like, that they're involved at all. They were all heartbroken as well, and they checked the apartment to see if anything had happened in there, and they didn't find anything. Then at 2:45, again, like I said, he ordered the Uber Eats, and it was typical of what he would normally get. Then at 2:58, his phone turns off or dies. Now, we don't know if his phone really was turned off or dies because they don't have the phone, but it obviously quit contacting towers for that at that time, at 2:58. So it could be because it was extremely foggy out that night. His phone was just in a particular area that it lost contact with towers, so it appeared to be turned off. Because at 3:03 a.m., he sends a Snapchat to a friend, and it's by a bridge near a drainage ditch. And the dog at that point was already back in the apartment. So you got to figure that at 2:45, he took the, 2:44 he took the Snapchat, and then 2:45 ordered Uber Eats. He probably then walked back into the apartment, put the dog in there. Maybe that's when the phone died. He goes into the apartment. It's foggy. It didn't connect to any towers. And that's at 2:58. Then at 3:03, he's back outside again. And let me show you that picture. And there it is. Apparently, this is the Snapchat that he sent to a friend. Now, if you notice, he's not in the picture. So there really isn't proof of life of Caleb in this image right here. There's proof that his phone is moving around, and it took a picture of this bridge. And here's a waterway here, and this is a drainage ditch. Now you can see right here, look how high that wall is. Okay, now if you go to Google Earth and you look at it, the drainage ditch, it's nowhere near as high at this time. So the water is very low, law enforcement said. So if he'd fallen off, and let's say he knocked himself out and he drowned because he was face down, he'd still be able to be found. He wouldn't have been able to float all the way downstream and make it out into the bay. Because I think it goes this direction, and then out here and into there. Okay, I mean, that seems very unlikely. So let's go back to the timeline here. So at 3:12, there's a ping on Williams Drive, and Williams Drive is right over here. See that? So that's what they're saying, that there was a ping there, but law enforcement doesn't believe the location of the ping is accurate. But if his phone is connecting to the network at 3:12, then doesn't that mean his phone is still active and doing things at 3:12? And that would be proof that his cell phone is still working at that time. Then at 3:20, the Uber Eats that he had ordered at 2:45 shows up in here and drops off the food. Now, when she came in, she saw another car leaving. Law enforcement was able to track down that other vehicle. They also don't think the Uber Eats driver had anything to do with Caleb's disappearance. It's a female driver. And then when the vehicle that was leaving, they tracked it down. I guess it's somebody maybe that lives in San Antonio based on comments in the comment section. I have no way of proving that. But apparently they tracked him down, and he was just there visiting a girlfriend and was leaving at that time. Now there's people that speculate that maybe when that person was leaving, that they ran into him. The fog might have made the visibility poor. Now, the reason I pointed out the color of clothing that he was wearing, as well as so people might be able to identify him, is that in this environment right here, in fog with lights, he may have been hard to see because he was light and may have blended in with the background a little bit better. Had he been wearing all black, for example, he would stick out, be very clear in there. It'd be like a shadow in the middle of a white haze. So I guess it is possible while he was standing and walking around in this area, and he had bare feet. Now, we were looking up the weather last night, and it was like 72 degrees out. So it's probably nice and peaceful. A lot of young kids just have bare feet, and they're just walking around. He might have been in the house and just said, I'm going to go outside. Maybe there's poor signal inside their apartment, so you'd have to go outside to send text messages or talk. I mean, that's a possibility. I don't know if that's the answer, but that might explain why he's walking around. I'd love to know what was on those Snapchats in terms of text. I think that would be pretty interesting. But he went missing right after this image right here. He just disappeared off the face of the earth. All right, now if you want to look at it like this, at 2:45 when he orders Uber Eats, and let's say you want to say that the Snapchat that he did at 3:03 of this bridge, the image we're looking at right here, is something that a nefarious actor created, then the timeline is between 2:45 and 3:20 that he went missing. If you believe that the 303 Snapchat that we're looking at was done by him, which seems, more likely just in general that he's the one that sent this, then the timeline that he went missing is between 3:03 and 3:20 because the female Uber Eats driver didn't see him when she drove in or when she left, nor at the apartment. So there's only about a 17-minute window there that he just disappeared. It's crazy. Now, if you want to get super conspiratorial, at 2 o'clock, when the roommate says that he fell asleep and Caleb was still awake getting ready to go fishing, it could be the window between 2 and 3:20. If you believe that the Snapchat that he took of his dog in the complex at 2:44 and the Uber Eats were both just sort of staging cell phone usages, that he didn't really take the Snapchat himself. Now, if his face is in the Snapchat, then you can just rule that out immediately. I don't think this is very likely, but I'm throwing this out as a scenario. Put in the comments section of what you think. But it could be that from all the way from 2 to 3:20, that all of the text usages and cell phone activity wasn't Caleb. And then, of course, that would mean that the roommates were involved, etc. I just don't think this is very likely, but given the fact that we don't have the Snapchat images themselves and the text, the people that he sent the text messages to with Snapchat, the text that accompanies it, maybe they said, he said something that was a lot more sort of like they knew that it was him. Okay? So, man, this is an absolutely crazy case. He's in here. 303 takes a picture right there. And see that little grass opening and how the sidewalk goes like that. And then here's the bridge. That is right here. There's a little grass area. The sidewalk comes around. And that's right in that area. Right there. And so he went missing. Now, it would seem logically like you'd go, oh, okay, he went into the canal here. I guess they call it drainage ditch. And he goes in there and he drowns and he floats out into the bay. But the water was really, really shallow. Way down. Now, I don't know exactly how deep it was, but apparently it was just really shallow where you could just see the bottom and stand in it. And that would make it way less likely. I mean, if you go down the street view here and you stand there and you look over, I mean, that's not a very far drop. You're not going to get, severely injured falling in there. You just put your hands up, roll into the water, etc. Now, I wonder if they checked the water there for his cell phone. That would be interesting if they did. Normally that's something really obvious that they would do. But who knows, man? Who knows? All right, so that is the Caleb Harris case. Let me know in the comments section what you think. I mean, I think it's absolutely insane, this case. It's crazy. It's like he just disappeared off the face of the earth. He was in a great mood. He had no reason to take his life. He had all kinds of plans coming up. He was doing well. And he just vanished from the face of the earth. Unbelievable. Okay, now let's do the update on Riley Strain. So if you guys remember, he was over here at Luke Bryant on the 8th of March, right here. At 9:35, he was kicked out because of his behavior, or he was intoxicated. They say that they only gave him one drink there. Then he comes walking around down the street right here. And that was 3rd Avenue. Then he cuts across this parking lot right here. And then he makes his way to, I believe it's Church Street, if I remember right. Yeah, Church Street. So he heads this direction. You see him on surveillance footage, walking by right there. Then he continues to walk down. He actually goes along this crosswalk right there. And then he comes around. That was 947. And then he walks this direction down here. And then he passes a police officer who was parked, I believe, over on this side of the street, and he was checking out a vehicle that had the windows smashed in. And he's standing about right here, or walking by. You could tell that he was kind of walking, like dragging his feet, and then as soon as he saw the officer, he walked normally, and he sounded normal to the police officer. And then he walked by, he goes underneath this bridge, and then a camera somewhere up here somewhere picks him up walking by this light pole right here. So if you go down to Street View, he's right by this light pole, and he continues to walk this direction. And I guess that camera could only pick him up until he got to this yellow sign right here. This one. And they don't see him anymore. His ID was found right down underneath the bridge right there. So it's only about 200 feet possibly from here all the way down there. I guess we could measure it right now on the show. Let's see if we go to here. Looks like in terms of feet, 209. So, I mean, that's really close. So his credit card was found down there. And if I said ID, I meant credit card. His credit card was found down here. And his wallet apparently was in his front pocket, according to the family spokesperson. They could see it on one of the surveillance shots, I think, at the bar. And he was taught to keep his ID in his front pocket. And then there's a camera right here that does not pick up Riley Strain. So that means he goes missing in this small area right here. They found his credit card down here. And he obviously goes into the water then, because he's missing. They can't find him after searching. And, almost 2 weeks later, they find him 8 miles downstream next to a barge. And, when they find him, we don't hear any information about it. They said that it doesn't look like foul play. However, the medical examiner apparently stated that there was a lack of water in his lungs. They also said there was no sign of obvious trauma created by a weapon. So what they're saying is that maybe, you could see trauma, but it doesn't, it's not obviously created by a weapon. And then also, he only had on his watch and that shirt that we've seen in the surveillance footage. He had no jeans on, and the wallet was in the jeans. No boots, and he was wearing Justin boots, square nose. And we don't know if he had a belt on. One of the people of interest, I believe the person that one of the homeless persons said that they yelled up to and said, heard a commotion, and that person yelled back down and said, "Oh, there's just somebody drunk." The spokesperson, I believe, talked to that person, and then he got a whole bunch of other volunteers to come around because, he was nervous to talk to him. And then he also called law enforcement and said, "Hey, we're talking to one of the people we think might be responsible for pushing him in the water." And law enforcement told him, "We don't think he has anything to do with it. We're interested in somebody else." So that right there shows you that law enforcement is interested in somebody else. So that means that they think there's a possibility that someone else nefariously had activity with Riley Strain. And because of that, it brings back in the surveillance footage right here. If we go back to 9:55, right there, right around 9:55 and 6 seconds. So that means at 9:54 and some odd seconds, see this person running right here? You can see them. They're running. Now watch how they stop and slow down now. Like they're running from the scene and then slow down. And they left the crime scene at like 9:54 and 50 seconds or so. So let's just look at that again. So I would say about right now, they're running away about right here. Let's say they're running away from underneath that bridge. Now, when I say away, they could just be somebody jogging, but the timing is really suspicious. So they're starting to run away. And then look, they'll show up into the camera here just in a second. There they are. They're running and then slowing down. Right there, they start walking. Now, isn't that typical of what somebody would do? They're trying to run away from a scene. Now, notice the cars driving by. They slowed down when they saw cars coming because they didn't want to draw attention to themselves. Because they knew that they weren't a jogger in their own mind subconsciously. So they slow down when the cars are coming to not draw attention to themselves. I mean, I think that person is really interesting, and I always have during this case. And so that means the person would have been running from right here at like 9:44 and 50 seconds, and then finally gets into the camera, which is right there, and it's a camera facing this direction, but it's a 180-degree camera. So it would start filming right there. So the person runs by and they slow down in this area and they start walking when they feel like they've got far enough away from the bridge. That's my interpretation of that. Might be just somebody jogging and they just happen to stop at that time. But the fact that Riley was in this area between 9:52 and 9:53 and something happens to him, and 1 minute after that, there's a guy running away from the crime scene area, if you want to call it that, and he's right there and he slows down and stops and starts walking slowly. So he's running, slows down, and stops. We'll just watch that one more time. And here comes a person running. You can obviously see that they're running. Now watch, right here, they slow down because they see a car coming. And they don't want to draw attention to themselves. See that? Doesn't that make sense? If you were just going to look at that and observe and try to figure out what the hell happened here. So I think law enforcement thinks that there is a chance that Riley Strain was acted upon nefariously, and that's how he ended up in the water. Now, water not being in the lungs, there's only a 7 to 8% chance that somebody who drowns does not have water in their lungs. So it's very uncommon for somebody to drown without having water in their lungs, because you're still alive and your body tries to breathe and it fills up your lungs with water. So if you're knocked out, pushed in the water, your body is likely unaware that you're in the water and it'll try to breathe, and then you end up drowning being in the water. So, if Riley Strain fell off, knocked his head off that high wall, went into the water, he could drown like that. But how did Riley Strain actually end up in the water? I guess that is the key here. And according to the family spokesperson, law enforcement is interested in somebody, which means that they too have questions. So leave a comment in the comment section and let me know what you guys think. I think that update is pretty interesting. And also, the Caleb Harris case needs more coverage. So instead of maybe deploying every single YouTuber on one case, perhaps we can get some others focus on Caleb Harris and try to help find him for his family. All right, so thank you all very much for watching. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. And as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there.